Well, a couple of episodes ago, I did the Desert Island discs, and that was a lot of fun. And it started a little trend here where I decided I would talk to a bunch of my friends around the country, around the world, because everybody's got a little bit different tastes on what they would take to that desert island. So it's time for us to go back to the desert island, and I'll have a special guest with us as well. So for now, let's drop the needle. We're back on the desert island, and I've decided to invite my friend Tom Chartrand from Shoreline Media up in beautiful Cape Cod, where he's probably going to get snow this afternoon. So it'd be a good time, Tom, do you think, to go to a desert island?
Maroon me, please.
So now the question is it a desert island or a deserted island, or is it a deserted desert island?
I'll take both.
Have you got one in mind?
I do. God, years ago when I was a single guy, I had a job in Tortola.
Oh boy.
And I went and it was a boating lifestyle show, and I shot for a week down there. And I said, when I meet the right person, we're coming here to get married. And about 5 years later, that happened. And my wife, Melissa, and I went down, the two of us, and decided to get married down there. We invited people along the way. We had about 50 people at the wedding, all strangers. And it was the best time of our life.
Wow. In the meantime, Tom and I have had some parallel but divergent experiences.
Absolutely.
I went up to Alaska to do one of the first times Panasonic had covered the Iditarod.
Right.
And that's the only time that I've been up there. But Tom, I think that you have continued that tradition for many years now.
This year will be my seventh. And it's an amazing race. And this year, especially with COVID, it's not going to look like any other year.
All right. Well, let's jump from the cold of Alaska to the warm deserted island. And so the challenge that you have, because I know that you are a music freak as I am. So the challenge that you have is to narrow down to a precise list what records you would like to take. I think it could be CDs, but no streaming, please. That you would like to take to this deserted desert island. And when you list one, tell me why you picked it.
It took so much to put together a list. It was, what do I want with me, and what's going to mean the most? What's going to bring back memories of childhood, or just good listening memories, or genres that I love and can't be without. So it was really hard. My first two albums are Beatles albums, Rubber Soul and the White Album. I love the early stuff, and I think Rubber Soul still hits it, yet they're maturing as songwriters.
Right.
And I think the White Album gets out of the psychedelic period, which was such a neat area and world of discovery for them, when they sort of pared down and said, all right, let's just be Beatles again and write our own music. And there was all sorts of turmoil, Yoko Ono, and a lot of it was just real guttural music. So there's so many different, bits of style and genre and everything else. On the White Album, I decided those two I couldn't live without.
Okay, well that's a good start. So what's up next?
Well, for me, then I said I need to have a solo Beatle album because I love the later years, and so that made it incredibly hard because I didn't want to waste four more picks on ex Beatles. So I went to one that I love. It was a close tie between Wings Over America, which I love. McCartney finally toured. He broke out. He introduced some Beatles songs live. It's an amazing triple album. But I went with George Harrison's All Things Must Pass because that was just a blossoming of creativity for him. And it's a great album. It still has Ringo on drums. It's got that Jam album at the end with Clapton and all those stars. So I thought some jamming, some great tunes, and along with Rubber Soul and the White Album, and that would satisfy me, I think.
So everybody has to have Beatles. So you're off to a good start.
All right, good. I think then I'm going to go through childhood because I have great memories of. I was a day camper in the summer when both my parents worked back in the '70s, And they always had during rest hour, they'd lay us down. We have to lay down for an hour, and they'd have the radio on. All the camp counselors were college age, and they always had WCOZ, the Rock of Boston, going. And one album, a song that I remember so much, "Living for the City," Stevie Wonder, and it made me explore different things. So "Inner Visions" by Stevie Wonder is just it just puts me somewhere else. It brings me back to childhood and so many good summer memories.
Great album. Yep.
That one. And, I think what I would have to go to, and jumping back into high school now, is as music changed and pop did, and I played and picked up guitar, The Clash was such a talented punk rock band out of London. And so London Calling, their double album that blended so many styles, and dub and ska and reggae, hard rock punk, and all sorts of different styles. It's a great album, and it brought me back to learning to play guitar and having a band. One other big passion was progressive rock. I love prog rock, King Crimson and all those types of bands. But really, one of my favorites was Genesis, and old Genesis, back when Peter Gabriel was their singer. And I loved The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. I loved Foxtrot with Supper's Ready. But I think my favorite album, and the why I love them so much, is because Steve Hackett, their guitarist, is just so talented. So from '76, after Peter Gabriel left, they did a live album in Paris. It was Seconds Out. And so it's got some music from the first two albums that Genesis did after Peter Gabriel, plus some amazing stuff like Cinema Show, Seconds, Supper's Ready, The Musical Box, just amazing theatrical stuff. And Phil was really coming into his own as a singer. But Steve Hackett is just such an amazing guitarist. That was just a nice showcase. Other thing you can see here is the band Fish out of Vermont. And so one that I would absolutely take is Fish's A Live One. It's a lot of live recordings from the Clifford Ball, early 90s, I think it was. But their studio albums are excellent, but really vehicles for their live shows, because they improvise so much. And, I've seen them a bunch of times. My wife loves them. And so I could not be without some excellent jams of Fish just going out there.
Right. There you go.
They really are. They're quirky like Zappa was. Their music, their lyrics are odd, but they are four guys that can take the stage and just settle into the pocket and play. And the sound they get from just four people at once is to me, otherworldly, really good stuff.
Well, yeah, and it makes perfect sense to be on a desert island and have fish.
Absolutely. And a live one, and yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love indie rock. So one band I love is Wilco, out of the Chicago area, I guess. But Jeff Tweedy's an amazing writer. Their music is so funky, odd. It's artsy, it's folk, it's sometimes country. But Yankee Hotel Foxtrot from the early 2000s is just a fantastic album. And that's one that I would absolutely have to have. It's classic, it's quirky. There's a couple of beautiful ballads, and his voice, to me, I still hear him today and think that could be what John Lennon would sound like today. That nasally, singing that says, I don't care what you think of it, but I can hold a tune, and to me, it's wonderful. So gotta have that. And I got to have some blues, because I love the blues. To me, the king of the blues from when, I got into guitar was Stevie Ray Vaughan. And one of my favorite songs of his is The Sky is Crying. So that album has to come with me. I think it's from 1985. I think that's 9 albums. And there's just one more, and it goes back to the jamming, the improvisational prowess of some bands. There's so many. It's such a scene right now. And one band out of the Chicago area, Humphreys McGee, has been around for a really long time. They have 2 lead guitarists. One of them's classically trained. One of them is more of a rock and roll guitarist. And when they trade licks and do stuff, it's great. So they've got a live album. Of course, I like live. Live at the Muret has some great songs. In the Kitchen, Haj Mashidi. They even have a song called Ringo. So that's a bonus.
That's a
10 that I couldn't live without.
That's a pretty good collection. I think if you've got to be stranded on an island, I think you'll be rocking out.
I absolutely will be.
Thanks again for sharing your music with us. And like I always say, folks, keep a rockin'. If you liked this episode, hit the like button. And you can also leave me a comment down below, and I'll respond to you. If you subscribe, we'll let you know when future episodes come out. Most of the albums that I talk about can be found at your local vinyl store or on eBay. Individual songs most likely are on Spotify, Apple Music, or Amazon Music, or even some on YouTube.